Hey everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to answer the question, why does ALGS play differently to ranked? This is outside the answer that most people are going to give in any comment section or Twitter. Well, they're pros because they're better, but what actually impacts the lobby dynamic? In the background we have ALGS footage from the past few days for educational purposes, and we're going to be referencing just a few moments specifically. Otherwise, I'm just going to let it run in the background. I'm confident I can give some insight as someone who played in the inception of early competitive Apex, shoutcasted all of year 2, and finally a part of the professional scene actually signing Apex pros. This video will hopefully be shorter and more straightforward and to the point, answering those questions, so let's get into it. And don't forget, we'll also be timestamping everything. Let's go with the first question on why don't teams push everything if they are so good? These top teams are literally the best of the best. It is assumed that the other teams are closer within skill level compared to pubs or ranked or even scrims. These teams have fought for their spot. Even if a team is of lower skill level, in theory it would not be a massive discrepancy and the fight would still be difficult to push and clean up quickly, posing a risk of early elimination, which can be a hard setback, especially with the point system. Because fights are not quick, at this high skill level the third parties come even faster, especially because there are so many teams within close proximity as teams refuse to fight early on. It's much better to get a team caught out of positioning and hurting from the zone, rather than finding a team that is really hunkered down and holding a position very well. Why do certain teams land in each other then? Well, teams practice endlessly at certain POIs. Unfortunately, on certain maps you cannot evenly distribute a team to every good POI, especially when every POI can sometimes have better positioning and better holds, especially if a zone is pulling towards a certain direction. You may want to be closer to that POI. Teams also have beef, and if they win, they can easily get those points and rotate easier. This can be an ego thing, but if they fight, that is what they train for. Why switch strats, especially when you believe you are the better team? This has caused a ton of upsets, and at some point a team does dominate and win, and the other will give up the POI. Why in ALGS are end zones so stacked? Because all teams respect each other off the drop for the most part. They rotate fairly quickly into zones. Teams know everyone is looting of equal speed, they know that they're all looking for third parties, and are very confident in their abilities. Because of this, it deters teams from fighting early. This respect plays into the end zones until they need to fight for better positioning. How do teams run it down then? Why is there always that one variable of a team that just gets a lot of eliminations? While there is a meta, there's an opposite meta that will work. Because everyone is in the mindset to respect the other players, if they see a fight, they know it most likely will end up in a dog pile. This is the most logical thinking, but that logic can also cause teams to hesitate and not push. Meaning if a team is really gathering resources fighting, they can maintain momentum. This is going to be mentioned later, but remember that POIs also have a limited number of resources. There's not a ton of loot to go around. Teams are realistically only going to engage in specific fights they know are worth it. If you get into a lengthy encounter early on and use up a majority of your ammo and heals, you're not going to have very much for the end game. So then that segues to, why do pros just keep pushing everything in ranked and not practice for ALGS? Well, this leads up to this portion. Why do good teams push everything? Well, it is a level of disrespect because they fight and they build up resources and momentum. Remember, as they're fighting, they're clearing their backs, they have better armors, and they can assume they have the most resources in the lobby. Most teams don't show presence or hold down their positioning and get caught out, or they may take unnecessary damage. Pros are able to identify if a team is good or not, and here are some tips to kind of help you as a viewer understand if a team knows what they're doing. Are they holding a good head glitch? Are they maintaining positive pressure? When are they using utility? Are they popping their Seer ult early? Are they popping a Gibraltar bubble early? And even if they do, and they can't dish out damage to stop a team from rolling up, especially if that team has good resources, it might indicate to the other team that they're probably not as good. An interesting thing I've noticed is that Gold and Plat lobbies play more like ALGS end zones at times, compared to, let's say, Master or Pred lobbies, because those players have a better respect for one another. They are playing of equal skill level. But like we see in ALGS, once a team has momentum, they pretty much keep it for the most part until they make a mistake. Now, this segues to, why are certain legends used in ALGS, especially when a player is better at a certain legend? Meta is very important. While you can hit Pred with literally any legend, when every second in utility matters at the upper end to fight, running a non-meta legend can make up the difference between a win versus not getting a win. Let's say you have Mirage versus Seer. This is a pretty big discrepancy. At the end zone, seeing a Seer ultimate against 4 teams, they can pretty much be afraid to push because they know they're going to get info on them, versus a Mirage that popped their ultimate either defensively or even offensively, and a pro can identify quickly who the Mirage actually is. To sum everything up, resource management is important at the higher level because more teams are alive and fights take way longer to clean up. Remember, The next tip of why you see it is respect goes a long way on assuming if teams are good or bad, and it showcases in those lobbies. How a team showcases their lobby, whether they're holding positioning and how they do it, when they push and when they don't push. And as we wrap up, remember the point system is different compared to the rank points. There's a lot of money on the line, there's a lot of stress, there's now a whole audience watching, and a lot of pressure. Like in basketball, if you're shooting free throws, those are relatively easy, but with a lot of pressure, things can change very, very quickly. Match point is a final system utilized in ALGS. So as a reminder, a team reaches a level of points in any way, shape, or form, but once they reach match point, they must win to win the overall tournament. When we say win, actually winning the round. If a team never wins, well, they're not going to win the tournament, even if they have 100 points and they've gotten a lot of eliminations. This can cause some teams to slow down getting kills, but can also cause the opposite when they need to get on the board, because simply winning with absolutely no eliminations doesn't mean you're necessarily going to bounce up on the board quickly. So you got to have a middle ground, and the middle ground is what everyone is looking for. You can win several rounds and then hit match point, but remember, again, you got to get some eliminations on that board as well. Just got to want to hit that point a little hard. Balance is key, especially if you're confident you can secure some early eliminations based on your positioning. I hope this video is helpful and insightful on why it plays differently, and kind of gives you some insight on how you play ranked and how you can improve, what things to look for, and also why individuals won't be able to default and say, well, they're just pros. I really believe that everyone has a skill set to be able to see and understand how different lobbies play out, but even seeing players of equal skill level in lower ranks can see why the lobby dynamic will change, or even compared to some scrim lobbies of why it also changes as well. Pressure is very important, the value that you have on the tournament, and the level of respect that you have for your fellow players and teammates and opponents. I appreciate again all of you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.